right, welcome, Jen. Thank you so much for being here, and everyone who's listening to the podcast. This is Ariana Rollins with Mindful Manifesting Podcast, and we're doing another coaching episode. So this is a manifesting breakthrough session with one of my just wonderful collaborative business partners. Not really business partner, but we've known each other for years, and she does incredible work with her husband, but we'll hear about that more later at the end. But before we dive into this episode, if you would like to learn how to create from a wish list alone, how to turn your intentions into reality, go to highertrueself.com and you can get your freebie workbook. All right, let's dive in. So welcome, Jen. So happy you're here.
Thanks, Ariana. I'm so happy to be here, and it's always a pleasure to speak with you.
It was so exciting when I was reading through your questions for the prep. And I'm just going to recap for everybody so you know where we're going with the session. So we're going to guide Jen to create a vision that is a 10 in desirability, anchor that in her heart. And the heart is really the creative center in our body. And if we think about our body as a storehouse of our unconscious mind, when we focus on our heart, we can start to communicate to our unconscious. And then we're going to identify where she might be tripping herself up in terms of the 5 phases of manifesting success. And then we'll do some action items. But let me just give you a recap of her prep. Not recap, I'll read her prep. Okay, so what she'd like to get out of our session here is to let go of negative thinking, create a success mindset, and make more money. And then on a 1 to 10 scale, I asked her how committed is she to manifesting that. And she selected an 8 out of 1 to 10. Now that already gives me an insight, because when we have a clear, rock solid vision, it's a 10 in desirability. When we can feel it happening, when we're connected to it, it's a 10. So we're going to work on that. We're going to get that up to a 10. That'll be our first task. And then I asked, what books have you read or training you've taken to learn how to manifest? And she's got some great books here, which is a brilliant classic. If you've not read it, I do suggest it. Think and Grow Rich. And then she's read Get Rich, Lucky Bitch, and You're a Badass at Making Money. And I asked her, what's her experience with manifesting so far? And she says it works, but lacks consistency. And that is a common symptom of phase 1. And we'll talk more about the phases when we get into the show. But it's like, these are people who know, they've witnessed it. They have this inherent ability to create things, but either they're not trusting in it, and or that they get caught by bright, shiny objects. So we'll analyze that in a few minutes. And then that she gets afraid of disappointment. I think we can all experience, we have all experienced that. We can get our hopes up too high, but be hurt if it doesn't come to be. And then what do you think is interfering with manifesting your intentions? And this is really classic as well. And I think all of us suffer from it: impatience, lack of consistency, and wanting immediate results. So before we dive into the session, Jen, I'd like you to share your story about you manifested your dream car. And this just happened this weekend. And it's really relevant. Let's start there, and then we'll go into your vision.
With how I manifested my car?
What you were experiencing after
Okay.
2 days of having it. That was key.
Okay, sure. So this is a car. It's the Volkswagen ID4, which is relatively new. I've wanted it for a couple of years, and I actually ordered one 2 years ago, and the financing just wasn't what I wanted it to be. And so I let it go and just thought the timing wasn't right. And so we finally made it happen this weekend. So it was delivered on Saturday, and so fun. We drove it all weekend. My husband and I and my daughter had a great time, like really settling into the experience of it. Like, it has heated seats, it has massage seats. Like, I've never had a car with massage seats, and it's big and beautiful, and just, I've never had an SUV. It's like a small SUV. And so it was a really expansive experience, and kind of for me was a mile marker that the things that I'm intending to manifest, and I've been working on my mindset, and my car was kind of the thing with the least resistance. So it came in first, and all this expansion. And then it was fascinating because yesterday was my first day driving on my, like, what I would call my real life. So I like dropped my daughter off. I went to the office to see clients. And when I was in the office, I started to feel this fear, this contraction, and it was very amorphous and like not specific, of like something was going to happen to the car, or was somehow was going to get taken away, or just I felt unsettled, like in my stomach, in myself. And it just made me think of, at least in my experience, there's expansion and contraction. And I had all this expansion, and then it just a little contraction. And I had to be mindful of it and breathe through it and just kind of relax that resistance to the change, because there's resistance to even positive change sometimes.
Well said, Jen. It's true that we can have resistance to even positive change. Like somebody who's been wanting to date and they're dating, dating, dating. They find someone and then, oh my gosh, it's getting serious and we're going to get engaged and married. So yes, that's a big one. But what I'm sensing and intuiting with you is you hit what's called an unconscious performance limit. And I've worked with a lot of people like this. Is their life is going well, their job or their work, because I mostly work with entrepreneurs, is they're making great income. They got to let go of their part-time job, which they hated, and now they're making full-time income from their passion, helping people. And then what can happen is that a part of us doesn't feel we deserve it, and that we can undermine the success. Not that you're going to do that, because you're much more aware and conscious than a lot of people, because you also are a trained therapist. So you're like, wait a minute, okay, I'm watching this, and you didn't let it take you over. Because I've worked with some people that they've experienced like this huge, like they've been working for 10 years at something, and finally it's happening, and they almost want to pinch themselves, like, is this real? And then they experience a loss, like a pet passing.
Mm-hmm.
Can't overcome it. It's like it takes them out. Now, it's not the fact of the pet passing, it's the fact of whatever in our life can bring us back down to that normal. Even
Mm-hmm.
though that normal is not really comfortable, it's not where we want to live, it's where we've lived. And then we can relax. So I'm really grateful for you sharing that and your awareness around that. So that's what we would call in my work unconscious performance limit, and which is why I really suggest, if someone has big goals, big intentions, is that you do some preparatory work to create a mindset of success before going after it. And you can actually raise your unconscious performance limit around being willing to receive more money, more love, more support before you actually go after the goal.
Yeah.
So you can then prepare for it. And there's a really great video series, great sad actually. It's not a video series, but it was a series of lottery winners and they were analyzing and tracking their life. And the statistics are really terrible. People lose the money. Some even end up going into debt and bankruptcy. They get divorced. And there's a reason why, is that we shot up too high. We were not ready for that. And how do we know we're ready for it? We have it, we experience it. So prepping for that is super important. So yeah, really good. All right, so we're going to do a little grounding exercise, connect you to your vision and bump that up from an 8 to a 10, because anything that's worth working on should be a 10 in desirability. So there's something there that you might think, well, I'll have to give something up, or, well, I've tried before, it's not going to happen. Doesn't matter what it is. Let's get it to a 10. And then we're going to go through and identify any resistance that might be lurking in the background. And that we'll do a quick resolution on that. And then we'll go through the 5 phases. How's that sound?
I love it. It sounds great.
Okay, great. All right. So if you're listening to the podcast, please do not close your eyes. Please do not do this if you're driving. All right, Jen, you can close your eyes. Feet flat on the floor, spine straight. Take a deep breath in of peace and calming energy. And exhale out the earlier part of your day. In your mind's eye, go to your favorite nature spot. Maybe you're at the ocean. Maybe you're in the mountains surrounded by majestic trees, or somewhere else. Start to see yourself there. What are the sounds? What are you hearing? What are you feeling in your body? What are you seeing? Now imagine in your mind's eye, you could actually go to that place and take a deep breath in of high quality air and exhale out the earlier part of our conversation and any free floating thoughts. Let it go. Notice your feet flat on the floor. Imagine out of the bottom of your feet your own unique grounding roots, somewhat like a tree's roots. Your roots nourish, strengthen, and stabilize you like a tree. Imagine you could follow those roots all the way to the center of the earth, and you see a circle of light. Imagine planting your roots in that circle of light, grounding you, centering you, signifying you are there. Allow any resistance that you might be feeling in your body, anything blocking the love and the light, allow it to flow down, 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 out your feet into the soil of the earth below. You might feel a bit of tingling in the bottom of your feet as resistance leaves you. But bring your awareness to your heart and imagine when I ask you this question that you will either see an image, you might hear, sense, or intuit it, or it might be blank. Whatever it is fine. So I'm going to ask the question now. Focus on your heart. Please show me a memory where I felt relaxed, fulfilled, peaceful, satisfied, maybe even loved. And maybe you can raise your hand or a little smile when you see something. Okay, beautiful. Focusing on that moment in time, ask, true self or my higher self, were you present in that moment? You'll get a yes, a no, or a blank. You got a yes. Beautiful. Keep your eyes closed for a moment longer. I'm going to speak directly with your true self. And this is part of your creative mechanism. You're manifesting, one of your manifesting superpowers is working with your true self. So true self, we're going to work next on creating an expansive vision for Jen where she is having a positive mindset consistently and making more money, whatever that is. Please support her as we create that vision and help her identify anything that might come up to take away or sabotage. And we'll be working on that next. Actually, I'm going to have you keep your eyes closed for a moment longer. I want to create the vision while you're still in this state. You're doing well. Okay. So I'd like you to, Jen, go out 3 to 6 months time, and maybe you're reflecting on the session that we had and you're starting to notice that, oh, my mindset is a bit more positive, and oh, money's coming a little easier. And describe to me that vision of when you recognized, oh, I've made a shift and I've manifested the money and the mindset. Describe that to me.
I feel like I'm doing things intuitively and it's not overwhelming, and I'm supporting people, the people in my life and people I've contracted to run my business, and then the money is just flowing in easily.
So what I heard there is trusting your intuition. So you're in flow, as I would say, and
Mm-hmm.
you've got the right support, that you're being
Mm-hmm.
held not only by the
It's
people in your team, but the universe. Does that sound right?
yes, yeah, the
Yeah.
synchronicity, the
Yeah.
support, and the abundance all coming in.
Ooh, love it. Okay, rate that now, Jen, on a 1 to 10 scale, 10 being very
Oh, that's a
desirable.
10.
Beautiful. We're going to anchor it now in your heart. Surround it with a ball of white light, that image. Bring it into your heart. And I'm going to make the request, the command, or some people call it a prayer. This is an example of what Jen would like to create in right timing and right action. Please make that happen and unfold in ways that are for the highest good of her and of all involved. Just breathe that in and out of your body and let it anchor. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. How are you feeling?
Very good.
Good, good. Okay, so now I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer, but I
Mm-hmm.
just want to give you the most support that I can.
Sure.
So, what do you think might come to interfere, either in yourself or in your environment,
Mm-hmm.
impede, sabotage, sidetrack you from manifesting that?
No, I love your feedback because I'm aware of kind of what my mindset habits are, and I think everything's mindset. So the story that I don't have enough time, like there's a lack of time, and that it's the fear of putting in a lot of work and not getting the return. And that's where the feeling of disappointment comes in, of what if I do all this work? And the subtext of that for me is I do everything by myself and I put all this effort into it, and then I don't get the result that I'm looking for, and I feel disappointed. Because I've worked very hard in the past and I've seen good results, but not like what I want, not something that is going to be expansive and life changing. I know that there's a mindset, emotional piece that has been missing that I've been working on.
I'm making notes here. And I will send you these notes from our session and some tips. Okay. All right. So story of not having enough time, and you're so like awake, aware, you say story. And then fear of putting in a lot of work, not getting the return. You've worked hard in the past, you've seen results, but not expansive, and the results that you hoped for, that can measure it with the effort, would you say?
Yes, absolutely. It's a lot of, in the beginning of businesses, right? It's a lot of effort with a little reward, or at least it has been for me so far.
Okay. All right. All right. I'm going to tune into my intuition right now and see where I want to go with this. Okay. All right. First thing, let's address the story of not having enough time. I'd like you to remember back to a moment, maybe the day before you were taking a trip, or maybe prepping for the birth of your daughter. And I'd like you to remember back where you got massive amounts done. It seemed like time expanded. You've had that before?
Yes.
Okay. Pick one of those, please. A peak moment. Tell me when you've got it in your mind.
Okay.
Close your eyes, surround it with a ball of white light, and bring it into your heart. Here's an example of time expanding. More than enough time. This is true. This is real. There's evidence of that. Just breathe that in and out. Very good. Very good. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Okay. So when you have that, if you like, you can just anchor that again. And I've been doing this work for a long time, nearly 20 years now. And I notice like I get magic amounts done. And it's like this sense of time expanding. Just had one of those mornings yesterday. I'm like, amazing. And the way that I understand what's happening is that when we are connected, when we are online, I like to say, are connected with our true self, we're aligned, then we are flowing with this grace and ease, and that we start to do things maybe before we even need to do them. So there's this efficiency and effectiveness and productivity that starts to happen, and it accumulates. So things take less time. Another thing that can happen is that instead of diving into doing something, we pause, we analyze, we assess, and then we implement from that inspired action state. Okay, so I want to dive just a bit deeper into this one, having worked hard in the past, seen results, but not expansive, and the results that you hope for. So this is what I would call in my work a blocker, because the evidence, you have plenty of evidence that supports that belief. And so a mindset or quick revision is not likely going to pull all the roots out of that. So what I would suggest is there's a really good exercise. It's called past perception revision process. And later on, when we're talking offline, I'll share how you can get access to that. And what it does is it actually takes those moments in time, not from an NLP perspective, like doing timeline therapy. It's different. We get the lesson and the learning, the higher wisdom, and then we can release the emotions from it. And then we actually go out into the future and we create a future memory of how we want to create, handle, and perceive situations like that. So all in one, we're clearing the past. We're being present in the moment because we're rewriting how we want to handle it, and we're pitching into the future.
That sounds wonderful, because the experience has had so many lessons, and I go in my mind, I can go with like, I know what happens. Like I know cognitively how to have a different experience, and also that those were learning experiences, but the emotion, right? The emotional letdown is like still my mind is also trying to protect me from that again.
Absolutely. And we don't want to get let down, because I think of emotions, that excitement, that hope. I mean, that's juicy stuff. That's manifesting force. And so a part of us wants to shut that down because we don't want to burn it up. And because sometimes we feel it might be hard to kind of get ourselves into that hopeful, positive mindset. So we don't want to put it on something unless we're going to be pretty certain of success. And the older we get, Jen, is that the less people perceptually feel they have. So they don't want to invest that energy and that emotion in something that's not going to be a sure return. That's part of, unfortunately, aging. But if we can keep ourselves present, take the emotion that's stuck in the past and bring it to the present moment, then we've got access to all that hope and possibility to create a different future.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And while, as you get older, you might feel like you have fewer resources. I also feel like I'm in a stage, because I have a toddler, like I just have fewer resources to devote to the other areas of my life, because
Yeah.
rightfully so much of me goes into her. And
Yeah.
so, and that's what I want, but it's just an interesting exercise in surrender, I think. And like you said, aligned action.
Yes, yes. And with, having a child, a toddler, it's like they can be a gift because they're forcing that, okay, analyze, prep before I take action, because I only have this amount of time, perceptually,
100%. Yeah.
right? And so they force us to be efficient, effective, and more productive. And if we can learn those lessons when they're toddlers, those are lifelong, right?
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah. Okay, great. So I want to go into the 5 different phases, and I want to give you a sense of where I see you might be getting tripped up, and then give you an action item. So the first phase is pushing and forcing, using willpower, or stuck in status quo. This is where we use like this Nike just do it, and we can burn ourselves out, and we are at this kind of hyper pitch to get things done, thinking that if we can just rely on our inner reserves and our willpower, it can be just talking ourselves into everything's okay. It's good. Look at the rest of the world. And so a part of us surrenders our manifesting power and our right to create a life that's more aligned. That's stage phase 1. I don't see you there.
It sounds familiar though. I'm sorry to cut.
It does?
Like I've been there most of my life.
Okay.
I've gained a lot, but I have worked very hard for it.
Okay. Okay, good. So you recognize that. All right. That's a good feedback for me, that this is a real phase. Thank you.
100%.
Okay. So phase 2, frustrated and frantic, taking random action and not succeeding. Now, this is where what's happening is there's high motivation and desire to make more money, create a positive mindset, and that we could be trying anything that comes across our inbox, like, oh, EFT program. Oh, this looks like a good book. Oh, I'm going to try that. Oh, this person has a freebie. Oh, that looks good. And then what happens is that we get caught by this bright, shiny object syndrome because we are highly motivated to make a change. And I love this phase. This is great. I can really work well with people in this phase because it's just channeling. And the most valuable thing that can be done in this phase is to make sure you're connected, you're aligned with your true self, and you're coming from this place of, okay, true self, will this help me with my current goal? Is this aligned? And it's amazing. If we just pause for less than a minute, we can like, no, okay, bye. All that to just commit and buy and try can fade away because we've got that aligned action. So I want to check with you. Is this where do you sometimes bounce back?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm curious to hear the next phase, because the first one I've been in most of my life. What you just described sounds like what I've been doing on and off the past year or so.
Okay.
Like I'll get in good alignment and then out, get in good alignment and
Yep.
be focused,
Yep.
and then out and frantic, right? Like oh, I'm going to try this and try this, trying to get something quicker going or whatever.
Yeah. That's
And
what I was
so,
going to assess.
yeah.
Yeah, you seem to be going into phase 2. So phase 3 is letting go of control and letting go of how do I make it happen. This is not forcing, not pressuring, but there is clarity. There is clarity around what you want. And just like what we did with your vision, and you felt that, wow, what I'm really wanting is that I'm trusting the universe has my back. I'm trusting and feeling that support from my team. And it's like, the image I'm seeing right now is a tree, the tree root, the trunk, and then branches. So as you have that support, the tree trunk, you can go out on the branches and maybe extend yourself, risk a little more. Phase 3 is really letting go of control. You're clear on what you want, and you're not doubting yourself. You're not trying to grab control back, force an outcome. You're not obsessed with reviewing your progress, like, I don't know, looking at the bank balance, obsessed with, oh, did I get enrollments? Did I get a new client? This phase is really tricky. And I will say there is no set, okay, you're in phase 1 for a month and phase 2 for 2 months. We can bounce back and forth these phases, and we can stay pretty long in phase 3, I will say, because phase 3 is continually looking for evidence, saying, am I making it? Is it working? And it breaks down this harmonious relationship with our mind and our unconscious mind, our conscious mind and unconscious mind, things, and that the repetitive thoughts kind of break down that trust. And we're living in surrender and then doubt, surrender and then doubt. Okay. Is phase 2 or phase 3, would you say, the majority of where you're living right now?
I think phase 2 is the majority, but I'm on the cusp of phase 3. Like, I get there and I recognize it when I'm there. I recognize the need for it when it's not there. And I've been doing some of this like manuscripting method, which has really helped me stay there more. And I've been pulling cards, which that really is what is supporting this. If the cards are always like, there's synchronicity, you need to surrender and support. And so I'm getting that divine connection and guidance. That helps me relax, which is what it also sounds like to me.
Okay, good. So I want to give some fixes, some action items for this phase is watch your triggers, which you are, and notice if you are in negative expectation.
What does that mean?
So something's going to happen to the car.
Yes.
A brilliant example of it, right?
Yes.
Right? And reframe your expectation to be positive. So, for example, something's going to happen to the car. It's like, wow, my car is so nice and bright and shiny and new. And I know how to take care of cars. I know how to make sure this car is whatever it takes as you work with something like that, use that, catch it, and just gently soften it. And then the permanent fix for phase 3 to be really solidly in phase 3 is learn how to recognize and clear the blockers to up level your mindset to be more consistently looking forward to your future rather than fear of repeating the past. Yeah. Okay. So
I just got chills. That resonates very much.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. All right. So, I'd like to give you, you're mostly in phase 2, and this is what can happen, everybody. So we can go forward to phase 3, stay there for a little while, and then we drop back into phase 2. It's our center of gravity. And then we progress, like 3 steps forward, 1 step back. And there is no fixed timeline here. We are really growing our consciousness, which is why I really like teaching manifesting. It's not just a simple SMART goal achieving thing. We're growing our manifestation abilities and ourselves because we are becoming worthy of that which we are asking for. Yeah. Okay. So I want to give you an action item for phase 2. And I will also share these notes that I'm making here. There's a podcast that I recorded about what it feels like to be in phase 2, and I go into more detail. But I will give you an action item is anchor your progress. And this can help so much, is even if you have not made the big leap, look at your progress. Wow, I did really good. Like I drank more water today or whatever, or I walked, or I paused before I became frustrated. Whatever little steps, anchor your progress, because that's going to have the biggest positive snowball effect for your mindset. Because
That makes sense.
a lot of people are all or nothing. And I don't know where that terrible disease got in. I catch it in myself. I was listening to a podcast today. There's a gentleman who teaches people how to create effective podcasts and engagement and monetize it. And previously, he used to own a gym, and he had a podcast on losing weight. And he said he remembered one time that it was just heartbreaking. Somebody set a goal to lose 100 pounds in a year. He said they lost 80 pounds, but they did not anchor their success or celebration. They beat themselves up because they didn't make that 100 pounds. So really anchoring your progress is going to really help stabilize phase 2 so you can stay more in phase 3. Is reframe a disappointment, because you were saying before that you put a lot of effort in something and it's like, gosh, it didn't pay off, can measure it with the amount of effort I put in it. So to reframe that disappointment. So if you look back and you're so aware, that there were lessons and great wisdom that came from it, but there's still some stuck emotion. If you maybe, let's do this. And then we'll start to wrap up. So close your eyes again, Jen, and focus on your heart and ask to be taken back to the last time where you set a big intention, you wanted to manifest something, and you were disappointed. It didn't work out. Tell me when you see something like that.
Yeah, I see it.
Very quick. Okay, great. Thank you. All right. So I'd like you to focus on your heart, and let's see how we do with this. So ask true self, say, true self, are you still present? That's that wise part of us. You'll get a positive yes, like a leaning forward or a no. You got one? You got a yes?
Well, you mean present now or present
Yes,
then?
right now.
Oh,
present.
yeah. Oh, she's here. Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Okay. Ask true self, was that goal or objective intention right for me at that time? Was the timing right?
Oh, I'm getting that I'm going to cry. I got what I needed.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. All right. All right. Beautiful. Just anchor that feeling. Well done. Well done. Yeah, because sometimes when we get the wisdom, the lesson, the learning, it's like, oh, that's why I did that. It wasn't for the big win, the big goal. It was the growth along the process. Very well done. Well done.
Wow.
Oh, so glad. So
and I'm not sad. It's like just emotional.
Right? Well, that's the emotion coming back, Jen. So you've just recovered energy.
Yeah. That was amazing. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Fabulous. So happy to do that. All right. So I'm not going to burden you with phase 4 or 5 because we're not there yet. So as we start to wrap up, I just would like you to pay attention to your progress. I think that's going to be really your biggest takeaway. And just anchor the smallest things. And what I do is when something happens where maybe I was getting frustrated, I've got a 9-month-old Australian Shepherd, and talk about test, right? And so maybe I can surround a ball of white light. The walking happened good yesterday. He was pretty good on the leash. And then I anchor it in my heart. Thank you for the success. I'd like to experience more successes like that in the future. Please make that happen in ways that are the highest good of me and of all involved. And it could just take a moment. If I don't have time, I could just thank you for that success. More of that, please.
Yeah.
Right? Because we are so good at saying, not enough, dog. You're not walking on the leash, dog. Very well. We're so good at criticizing and knowing what's wrong. Nothing wrong with that because it shows our growth path, where we want to go. But unless we anchor the success, we can keep bouncing back to nothing's happening, nothing's changing. And it's that fuels the negative mindset.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Well, I thoroughly enjoyed this. Thank you for doing the manifesting breakthrough session with me. And as we start to wrap up, I just want to let the listeners know if you would like to be a guest on the podcast, I'd love to invite you for a manifesting breakthrough where you can also experience a breakthrough. And if you're an entrepreneur, you can shout out your business, which we're going to give Jen an opportunity to do that now. And just share a little bit about your work and how people can follow you, connect with you.
Well, first, I just want to say, Ariana, thank you so much for that clearing. Like, I just cleared something significant. So thank you for that.
I'm so glad. Thank you.
That was, I don't know what all that emotion was, but it was needed to be released. So thank you. Yeah. So my business, my husband and I started an online business called Heart Centered Revolution. And we share teachings of Kundalini yoga and conscious living. And our goal and mission, I think, aligns so much with what Ariana does, because our goal is to help people learn more about what it's like to drop into the heart center and live from that aligned place. And then also to teach very practical tools from the yoga traditions that help you do that. And so we have a podcast where we share teachings, and every podcast ends with a short breathing meditation. And then we have yoga courses and things like that. So you can find everything at Heart Center. We have some free mini courses and meditation programs if your audience is interested in that.
Fabulous. And I did take one of you, I think it was one of your freebies, Jen, and I loved it. I took some classes, a video class. I still remember how it supports digestion. It's like, what? So good.
Yeah. There's a lot of really interesting things that even if you don't want to dedicate an hour a day to like learning a whole new style of yoga, there's a lot of little things you can do in a few minutes here and there to really just help support your day.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Yeah, just to do, it's not that we don't have to do that all or nothing. Oh, I don't have time for an hour-long class. I don't have time for 30 minutes. I'll just do this. Yeah. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, we'll wrap up, listeners. And if you would like to learn how to turn your intentions from just a dream, a wish into reality, grab our free workbook. And remember, when you confirm yourself, you chart your own course to success. So much love, everybody.
Thank you.